Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hunter Starcraft and today I'm going to be bringing you a big match in the Global Gamers Invitational Tournament. This is the round of 16. The two players featured in today's match is going to be Azz, spawning at the 2 o'clock position as the blue Protoss player, and then to the north we have Capoch, the green Protoss player. So this is going to be a PvP on Lost Temple, and before the action really gets underway here, I just want to give a quick thank you to all the sponsors that have made this Global Gamer Invitational Tournament possible. iFixit, SCVs for the Real World, Esports United, The Handsome Nerd, IC Cup TV, TeamLiquid.net, and of course Blizzard Entertainment themselves. So now that the administrative work is out of the way, we are going to be moving into this matchup, into the commentary. So let's just get right into it. This is game 2 actually between these two players, and I mentioned before, round of 16. So this is game 2. If you haven't checked game 1 yet, it is on the IC Cup TV YouTube channel, and check that game first because usually that makes sense, and game 1 is going to get spoiled for you momentarily. We do have Capoch moving out here. Now Capoch's probe here did spot Azz's probe, and as a result, Capoch is now moving down to the south position, and I can see him queuing up these move commands. It looks to me like Capoch is actually under the assumption that Azz has spawned here. But no, in fact, Azz just sent out that probe a little earlier, and of course, we can obviously see that Azz has spawned at that east location. So now tucking his probe away in the corner here, Capoch has that probe up. Yeah, so we're going to see what happens with that. After that first pylon arrived, pretty standard, as chrono boosting some of his workers out, getting that gateway at the top of his ramp. Same thing goes for Capoch, except he is actually going to be using some of the chrono boosts, getting those early zealots out. And a little pesky probe from Azz is going to start to zap away at this pylon. Probably nothing significant going to come of that. Keeping the production tab up, we do have Capoch's initial gas is just on the way now, whereas Azz has already been mining gas for a little bit. So we might see a slightly more tech-heavy build from Azz. That is certainly what we saw in Game 1. And just to sort of talk about Game 1 very briefly, Capoch did win Game 1. He was able to get a proxy pylon behind enemy lines and really able to pincer Azz's forces and really took the win there. So Capoch is up 1-0, so Azz is certainly on the back heel. Capoch finally realizing, oops, bit of a blunder. He was not, in the right base, so he wasn't going to be able to proxy anything up there. Capoch, just sort of testing the waters, gets to the top of the ramp, but we can see another very tight wall in here. If I select both buildings, you can see how narrow that gap really is. Narrow enough that even a stalker can't get through there, I believe. So Azz is certainly well positioned with his 2 stalkers at the top there, as only one of Capoch's stalkers can get in, and 2 of Azz's will be slicing away at him. So that is just about an ideal wall-in situation for Azz, so certainly like the placement of that. Let's just keep an eye on each base, as these build orders start to progress. Azz getting a second gas at this point. Capoch still trying to do some damage with these zealots, but I'm not sure how fruitful that's going to be. Ooh, another crafty little probe hanging out just behind the mineral line there. For Capoch, does have a very early robotics facility. He's getting that robo bay, 30 supply, but nonetheless, he doesn't have any other significant structures up just yet. I like the placement of this pylon here. It not only provides you with good vision of your base overall, it actually allows you to warp in units on the low ground. Now Capoch falling back because he does not want to allow any unnecessary scouting to go down. Taking a look at Azz's vision, he does not know about this robotics facility. And taking a look at Capoch's vision, he actually has no significant scouting done whatsoever, as Azz is now putting down, the vital infrastructure. He's got a Stargate along with 3 warp gates are going to be arriving very shortly. So different build from what we saw on Steps of War in Game 1, actually getting a Stargate out, getting these Phoenix out early. So some interesting play on the way. Both players getting this Warp Gate research at around the same time. Going to have 3-gate Robo versus 3-gate Stargate. So let's just see who comes out on top in this matchup. I do like this Phoenix play. in this particular situation, as these spawn locations very close by air. Yeah, so taking a look at map control as well, we do have Capoch controlling both Xel'Nagas, absolutely vital in this situation and any situation, obviously. Very important to have map control. We have the initial observer as well on the way in the base of Azz. Going to see exactly what's going on. It's going to see the Phoenix. It's going to see the 3-gate. So that is certainly an advantage of getting this early robotics facility, as Capoch is not going to be in the dark. He's going to be very well prepared, already moving this Stalker into position. I would expect him to be warping in more Stalkers soon. Also take note, Robotics Bay on the way, so we may see Colossi. We're just going to have to wait and see, but look at this. 2 Phoenix moving into position, sort of abusing the high ground just a little bit. You can see the little dots there. They are on the high ground, so these Stalkers can't see them when they're up there. Moving in, going to take out 1 probe. Going to take out a 2nd probe as well, but this Phoenix, his shield's depleting very rapidly, as these really are kind of just paper planes. They go down very quickly to Stalker fire. So if, you know, they can be used obviously for the mineral line harassment, and now going to be taken back some of that map control, as this Xel'Naga is no longer occupied by Capoch, and out of fear, Capoch's 2nd Zealot moving away, doesn't want to get zapped by these Phoenix. Now these Phoenix are going to scout the fast expansion. Well, not extremely fast or anything, but they are going to spot the natural expansion, keeping them on the high ground once again, moving into position, going to try to do more mineral line harassment, going to take out a probe there, a little bit slow to react by Capoch, but I mean nothing too detrimental. I believe it was just the 1 probe that went down there. Capoch still is an observer, still going to see what's going on here in Azz's base. And Azz actually forced to take out this warp gate. As I mentioned before, Stalkers couldn't get through that gap, so he was forced to destroy that warp gate. I mean, it did serve its purpose early, and certainly decreased the, you know, the push, the attack power by Capoch, but now he was forced to destroy it, and knowing that Capoch is expanding, Azz feels safe enough to expand himself. And we do have more Phoenix presence. We do have 4 Phoenix up at this point, but you know what? Good work by Capoch, keeping an eye on his mini-map. He's certainly, you know, knows where these Phoenix are at, and gonna certainly move these Stalkers into the appropriate position, forcing these Phoenix out. Taking a look at the vision of Azz, still does not realize there is a pesky probe behind his natural mineral line. Both players sort of macroing up a little bit at this point. Capoch is forced to, you know, stay in his base. He doesn't want to get caught out of position with this kind of Phoenix presence on the map. Capoch has got an observer there. Not really vital to have an observer there. We do have 4 probes, 5 probes that have gone down with these 4 Phoenix. Could have taken out a couple more, but, you know, just opting to move back. He does know that that Capoch is moving out, and this might be our first big exchange of the game. We've got both armies awkwardly looking at each other. They got to attack as the Zealots for Azz are getting into position, but force fields very effective for Capoch, sort of locking those Zealots for Azz down. The Phoenix are lifting up a Sentry and a Stalker, you know, preventing them from doing anything too significant, but Azz does look like he's poking his nose out ahead in this battle, forcing Capoch's army back. A lot of Stalkers, really high pressure in this situation. Azz still got the Phoenix overhead, but you know what? A little bit of back and forth action here. Still got this Zealot, and oh, finally, Azz knows about it because Capoch was able to warp in 3 Zealots, but you know what? There weren't any probes on the line to harass, so this proxy pylon didn't prove to be absolutely vital or anything. Capoch wasn't able to do any, you know, hefty damage of the sort. So, I mean, pretty even exchange. Pulling up the units lost tab. We do see a discrepancy of about 700 or 800 rather resources in terms of units lost. Capoch still controlling this area here. Well, at least observing it with his observer, obviously. Going to keep an eye on the production tab. We do have 4 more warp gates for a total of 7 for Capoch. So very warp gate heavy at this point, whereas Azz is transitioning, you know, into a couple more warp gates himself. He's getting void rays as well, so a bit of a transition for each player. Azz does have a robotics facility as well at this point. Haven't seen, you know, a lot of production coming from that robotics besides the observer. And I mean, map control once again sort of leaning in the favor of Capoch. Nice work taking out that probe. I believe that was was a probe, maybe it was an observer, but I don't know what he would have used to detect it, so I think it was just a scouting probe for Capoch. Still very even here in terms of units lost, in terms of the income, 48 over 44 respectively for Capoch and Azz. So pulling up the army tab, very close all around, pretty close battle in the PvP here. Seeing some more tech climbing a little bit for Azz, as he is getting that Twilight Council. He does have quite a few Zealots and Stalkers, so I'm not sure if he's going to get Blink or if he's going to go with Zealot Charge. We're just going to have to wait and see. Another Proxy Pylon going down for Capoch, and Capoch's actually getting Hallucination at this point. Sort of an interesting little, interesting building, or sorry, an interesting upgrade. What am I saying? So we'll see what he's going to use that for. Maybe play some mind games. I would certainly expect that. Both players just continuing to macro up, and it looks like we are going to see a big exchange soon. We are just going to have to wait and see. Now, we do actually have Zealot legs on the way, so, I mean, that upgrade is quite a ways from being complete. So Azz does not want to engage, at least for another minute. And Capoch, on the other hand, is really macroing pretty heavily at this point. Taking a look at the units tab, Capoch, very heavy Zealot, Stalker, Sentry build, whereas more diversity for Capoch. And here we go, big exchange, hallucinating some Colossi in, and these Colossi certainly distracting the Phoenix and Void Ray, but this is definitely a big exchange. We got a lot of Zealots, but no Zealot charge just yet arriving. Azz just trying to hold on here. He does not like this pressure from Capoch one bit, and Azz actually forced to move back. Azz tried to do some work on the high ground here, but this is certainly not looking good for Azz, as the Capoch presence is becoming rampant in his natural expansion. These units moving in very quickly. Once again, they hallucinated Colossi, moving into position and just trying to defend as best he can. Azz is trying to hold off Capoch's pressure here. Capoch continuing to reinforce a whole bunch more Zealots, moving into position, and we can see that the forces for Azz really dwindling at this point. The unit composition for Capoch just a little bit stronger, as Azz's Phoenix in the air along with the Void Rays were not able to do as much damage as he would have wanted them to do, and this is just very dominant presence for Capoch in the base of Azz. I'm not really sure what Azz is going to be able to do at this point. We can see that his army count is just dropping off, and that is all she wrote for Azz, not only in this game, but in the tournament as well, as Capoch takes this series in the round of 16, 2-0, so he is going to be moving on to the round of 8. So look forward to that matchup. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and this is Hunter StarCraft here saying peace out.